One of the recent Creation Club releases is a new adventure called Tunnel Snakes Rule. Enjoy a Tunnel Snakes themed adventure featuring the original Fallout 10mm pistol and a new Tunnel Snakes jacket, pistol created by Adam the Rizzler Ridsdale. A new adventure, eh? Now, some of these Creation Club creations have said that they come with a quest, only for it to be a minor fetch and retrieve sort of thing, but this one is calling it an adventure. For 500 credits, we can purchase Tunnel Snakes Rule and see if this adventure really is one. 500 credits is around $5. Will it be worth it? Let's find out. The next time we arrive in the Commonwealth, we pick up a brand new radio signal. Faint radio signal found. Tuning to it on our Pip-Boy radio, we hear... Sounds like sleeping or some sort of heavy breathing, but whoever's making that noise does not sound well. Our Pip-Boy tells us that the signal is coming from an unmarked location just southeast of Hangman Alley and northwest of the Chestnut Hillock Reservoir. Heading that way, we see that the signal is coming from an abandoned, unmarked subway station. Going down the stairs, we find the doorway at the end chained. However, we can go through a hole in the wall into some utility tunnels. Rounding a corner, we see a bloatfly through another hole in the wall. Creeping closer, we find another. On the other side of this hole is the abandoned metro tube. We've explored this before, but we haven't explored a subway maintenance access door to the south. On the other side, we can creep down the hallway and get rid of a bunch of rad roaches littering the platform. Part of me feels bad for wasting ammo on a rad roach. We see a red light glowing from a derailed subway car. There are many ways we could go. We see a light coming from what looks like a raider platform across the way. There are doors to the east and a scrap ramp across the rails, but we'll start by heading towards the door to the north. This is locked with a novice lock, and after unlocking it, we have to get rid of more rad roaches. This hallway ends at two openings leading east to the track. We see some sort of abandoned camp, looks like a raider camp, and more derailed subway cars. As we creep forward, we can turn to the east where we see a gangrenous feral ghoul. After killing a few more rad roaches, we can look to the eastern side of this car. We see more ghouls and what looks like a corpse. But before we go over there, I want to make sure to clear this subway car so that we don't get any surprises. After looting some meat by a campfire, we can creep through the car where we find a few suitcases and minor containers to loot. Oh, and a machete on the rad roach, because that makes perfect sense. And I'm glad I came this way first because we find a ghoul hiding beneath a scaffolding ramp. The end of this subway car has a pulsing red light. We find one cooler here, but there's just a tarberry inside, and we're stuck. We can't go out this way, so heading back, we can go through the door to the east. Only to wake up some sleeping feral ghouls. And here I thought I was being so sneaky. Once dead, we can try to get our bearings, find out exactly where we're at. Someone tried to establish a camp here with all of the creature comforts. We see food, cigarette machines, beds, sleeping bags, a radio. We find some Radix and a chem cooler, jet on a nightstand, 3 cases of 10mm ammunition, and what's this? A classic 10mm pistol. The corpse lying on the couch is a tunnel snake. And on his body, we find a unique outfit, the Tunnel Snakes outfit. We recall that the Tunnel Snakes were a small 3-person gang living in Vault 101 in the Capital Wasteland. The Lone Wanderer first met them 10 years ago as a child. They were bullying and harassing the Lone Wanderer's best childhood friend, Amata.
Get out of my way, you stupid tunnel snakes! I can show you a real tunnel snake, Amata.
God, Butch! Why don't you just leave me alone?
What are you gonna do, Amata?
Daddy's girl,
Go run and tell
daddy's
your daddy
girl.
on us? Tell her, Butch. You think you're special because your daddy is the overseer? She thinks she's better than us.
Let's go into the storeroom, Amata. I'll show you a good time.
But we know what happened to Vault 101. We know what happened to its residents. The Tunnel Snakes weren't a big-time Capital Wasteland gang. They were a tiny 3-person outfit in a vault. What is a Tunnel Snake doing in the Commonwealth? Inspecting this gear, it's alien and strange. We haven't seen anything like it in the Commonwealth. The classic 10mm pistol is a reinterpretation in Fallout 4 of the 10mm pistol from Fallout 1 and 2. It's a beautiful weapon, resting large in the hand, and it looks heavy. The shape of this thing is gorgeous, curvy in all the right places, and we find manufacturer stamps as an added little touch. 10mm auto NM7489503 115937, model 6520. This classic weapon was replaced in Fallout 3 by the 10mm N99 pistol, so this hasn't appeared in the Fallout franchise for a very long time. I was thrilled to learn that we can modify this thing in a weapons workbench. It has a number of receiver options, including light frame, heavy frame, calibrated hardened, hair trigger powerful, calibrated powerful, and advanced, which means this is just a pistol. We see some of the same receiver options that we're familiar with Fallout 4's 10mm pistol, but we can't turn this into an automatic weapon, like we can with the one from Fallout 4. It shares the same short and long barrel options. It has a long ported barrel and a new short ported barrel. This short ported barrel doesn't appear on the standard gun. It has the same 3 grips, standard, comfort, and sharpshooter, but one new one, called the Survivor's Grip, which has a brand new model as well. It looks like it's cut in stylized leather. It has the same magazine options as the 10mm we're used to: standard, large, quick eject, or large quick eject. All the same sights: standard, glow, reflex, reflex circle, and recon scope. And for muzzle options, it has the muzzle brake and the suppressor, but it does not have the compensator from the 10mm we are used to. The Tunnel Snake outfit looks exactly like the one from Fallout 3. It consists of a Vault 101 jumpsuit and a leather jacket. It has 2 damage resist and plus 30 to poison resist, which I suppose makes sense with the whole snake theme they've got going on. On the back of the jacket is a coiling green snake making the letter S. And it looks like the Vault 101 jumpsuit underneath this jacket is a reproduction of the kind we find in Fallout 3. This is surprising to me because I always considered the vault suits from Fallout 4 to be reinterpretations of the standard vault suit. I didn't think that Vault Tech issued one kind of vault suit to Vault 101 and a different kind to Vault 111. I imagined that they were the same vault suit, we just observed them differently in those 2 different games taking place at a different time. But here we are in Fallout 4, and we see a carbon copy of the Fallout 3 jumpsuit beneath this jacket. This one armor piece takes up an entire clothing slot, and sadly it can't be modified. We can't add ballistic weave to it. It doesn't even appear as an option in an armor workbench. Interesting gear to find in here, but what's the story with these guys? What are they doing all the way out here? Climbing up that scaffolding ramp we saw earlier with a construction light on top, we can loot a box of .308 rounds and a hunting rifle. Heading back down, we see some unique graffiti on the side of this train. Well, it looks like a snake's head. These tunnel snakes, in very raider and gunner fashion, were marking their territory. We find another unique tunnel snake graffiti piece on some plywood on the scaffolding. Another snake's head. Opening the gate, we can go south down the tracks. We never finished exploring up here. We find 2 skeletons lying in the middle of the tracks. There appears to be pre-war blood stains, almost as if they got hit by one of the trains. The southern end of both of these tubes are completely filled in with rubble. On the eastern platform, we see a door to the north and a door to the south, but both of these are blocked in with rubble. We find a double door to the north, but this is chained. So to continue, we need to head north down the track. On this middle platform, we find 2 more beds and a big shelf filled with all sorts of goodies. We can find 2 stim packs hiding behind a liquor bottle, and at the very end of the track, we see another hole in the eastern wall with the words, "Tunnel Snakes Rule," spray painted on the side. we find another tunnel snake corpse lying over a concrete barricade, and on his body is another tunnel snake's outfit. And he's also a ghoul. Why are all of these guys ghouls, and why are they dead? Heading through the hole to the east, we enter a utility tunnel. The southern end is blocked, and we can use our new pistol to clear some rad roaches to the north. Rounding the corner, we can turn left into a supply room, but we just find a few containers to loot. So heading back out and continuing east down the hallway, we see another tunnel snake lying dead face down on the ground. But he's not alone. Thankfully, my stealth is pretty good on this character. We can switch off a ham radio on the table, and doing so turns off the faint radio signal. This tunnel snake also has a tunnel snake's outfit, and we find another classic 10mm pistol. We can loot some bourbon and some Nuka-Cola on a small stand to the southwest, and then we can access a terminal lying on this desk. Transit maintenance staff only. Personal logs. If we try to access either of the transit maintenance logs, we find that they have been deleted, or that the data is somehow missing. Instead, we can start by reading First Week. First week of joining up with the tunnel snakes. This is freaking awesome. We can do whatever the hell we want, and ain't nobody gonna stop us. Wally Mack found me. He's the top dog. Said he walked all the way from DC to start this gang up. Some of the other guys think that's a load of crap, but I believe him. Take one look at him and you can tell. He's seen some stuff. Tunnel snakes rule! Wally Mack? Wally Mack is none other than one of the 3 members of the original Tunnel Snakes who grew up in Vault 101. The Lone Wanderer even meets him as a child, when he and the other Tunnel Snakes were arguing about what to call themselves.
Shows how smart you are, Wally. What should we call ourselves?
Here's one. Wally and the Big Cheese. That's you, Butch. The Big Cheese.
Nice try, but shouldn't it be the Big Cheese and Wally? Why do you always have to get your name in there? What are you looking at?
I can't believe you didn't like Hell's Overseers. Better than anything you guys have come up with.
I never said I didn't like it. I just haven't made up my mind yet, okay?
He is the tunnel snake the Lone Wanderer can talk to while they're harassing Amata and use reverse psychology to put an end to this conflict.
Tell her, Butch.
Help!
Don't mess with the tunnel snakes.
Should I have heard of the tunnel snakes?
What? You mouthing off, Spaz? Everyone knows the tunnel snakes. We rule this vault, and we don't take shit from nobody. Not you, not her, and not her daddy, the overseer.
You have a problem with Amata?
Stay out of this. It's tunnel snake business. Me and Butch were just having some fun with this chick.
Oh, I get it. Butch is the leader. You're just a follower.
I don't follow anyone. Wally Mack is his own man, and the tunnel snakes is where I belong. Why? You think Butch is in charge? Is that what people are saying? Because it's a load of shit if that's what they're saying.
Well, I've heard you do anything he tells you, and I mean anything.
What? What kind of shit is that? No one talks that way about Wally Mack. He's not the boss of me. Nobody's the boss of me. I'm out of here. We're done here.
Done? We're not done. I say when we're done.
Don't know who put you in charge. I say we're done. Let's go, Paul.
Are you sure? Butch? Okay. Whatever you say, Wally. Tunnel snakes rule. Fine, let's go. I was done here anyway. This ain't over, Daddy's girl. I'm not finished with you either, twerp.
Wally Mack was proud of being a tunnel snake even as a young boy. It sounds like after the events of Fallout 3, he left the Capital Wasteland and made his way to the Commonwealth. He must have been a capable survivor to have made it that far, and he brought with him the legacy of the tunnel snakes. Sounds like when he arrived in Boston, he began to recruit, including whomever was the author of this journal entry. In the next one, superpowers. Took up shop here in the Boston subway. Party 24/7 down here. One of the cars had a ton of radioactive waste. I told Wally it might be a bad idea to touch those, but he thinks that keeping them around will give us superpowers and make us all stone cold badasses. He's so freaking smart. I hope I get super strength and maybe X-ray vision. Okay, they may be survivors, but they're not, geniuses. In the next one, Hostage ran into another group last night. They call themselves the Gunners, which we think is hilarious since their aim sucks. We took one hostage. They'll think twice about screwing with us again. Wally found a sweet pistol on him. Maybe we can trade something good for it. Man, my head is freaking pounding. Some of the other guys are coming down with something too. I hope it's not bad. Stupid Wally and his tunnel snakes. Sure, some people can mutate to become immortal ghouls, but they don't get superpowers. These guys are just gonna kill themselves. In the next one, vomit. It's bad. Everyone's got the shakes. George vomited all over my shoes. Even Wally's not looking so good. And in the final one, radio, George is dead. Everything I do hurts, even breathing. I think Wally's lost it. He just screams, and when he's not screaming, he's laughing. I'm getting on the radio today. Maybe someone can help. Though at this point, putting a bullet between my eyes to stop this headache doesn't sound so bad either. Well, I think it's clear that this man succumbed to his radiation poisoning. And the tunnel snakes had grown from a 3-man operation in the Capital Wasteland to a multiple-man operation here in Boston. We've already killed, half a dozen ghouls and eluded 3 corpses with tunnel snake outfits. Could all of them have belonged to the tunnel snakes? If so, I really gotta hand it to Wally Mack. He and his friends created something in their childhood, and over a decade later, he managed to grow it larger than Butch could have even hoped. But according to this terminal entry, Wally Mack was beginning to succumb to his radiation poisoning, screaming and laughing. That does not sound good. Turning south, we find a bathroom. The tunnel snakes have left more of their tunnel snake graffiti on the walls. We find a skeleton face down in one of the stalls, and the other is empty, save for a bunch of burned books. We need to track down Wally Mack and find out what happened to him. To do so, we open the door to the east, pull out our classic 10mm pistol, and head down the hallway. There's a door to the right, and our path to the north is blocked, so heading right, we can loot some glowing fungus and come out on... Woohoo! Oh, almost got me there. Nicely done. It'd be tricky to squeeze down this tube. The train's on the track, so instead we'll board the train. We can get rid of some rad roaches and then explore the remains we find here. There's a skeleton on the ground to the north and a baby carriage. Oh no. Oh, thankfully it's empty. Passing more skeletons falling out of their chairs, we can continue south down the tube. We find more evidence that the nuclear fallout must have worked really quickly for these people to be dead in their seats. Either that or they somehow died from the blast, but that seems unlikely all the way down here. We can loot a cooler. Inside we just find some razor grain, and then head out a door to the east. Turning north, we see a cage. And turning south, some moving ghouls. Well, let's go north first, see what's in here. The cage is locked with an advanced lock, and after picking it, we find the corpse of a gunner. That's right. We read on that terminal that the tunnel snakes had kidnapped a gunner. I'm surprised that these guys could have fared so well against the gunners, considering there's such a hardened military force. I guess maybe tunnel snakes do rule. Now, this is typically my long-range sniper. At this point, I'd pull out my old reliable and snipe the heads of these ghouls, but this is a brand new gun, and I of course wanted to try it out. But as you're about to see, it got me into trouble. We see a wooden platform in the middle of this platform and a corpse lying on top. But before we can loot it, ghouls appear from all corners. A feral ghoul stalker, Wally Mack, as a glowing one, a charred feral ghoul, another feral ghoul, and a gangrenous feral ghoul. 2 of them. Oh, what have I gotten myself into? This is my VATS character. I don't have commando or gunslinger or any hipfire perks. My best bet was to run from these guys and shoot behind me at the same time. Whew. And with that, we put an end to Wally Mack and complete the quest, Tunnel Snakes Rule. We can now pick up where we left off. We see an ammo box right next to a lawn chair upon which rests a woman tunnel snake wearing the same tunnel snake's outfit. But she, like the others, had turned into ghouls, which now makes sense having read that terminal. They found some sort of nuclear waste here, and instead of moving, they stayed. It looks like none of the non-feral ghouls lived. We find another tunnel snake lying dead behind the gang's bar, and on his body, another tunnel snake outfit. We can loot another classic 10mm pistol on the bar counter, some 10mm rounds, and we find the tunnel snake's cell key on a shelf behind the counter. This unlocks that big cage where we found the dead gunner, in case we can't pick the lock. We get 2 boxes of shotgun shells, 3 more boxes of 10mm rounds, and a buff out. Not to mention the whiskey on the counter, and more whiskey on the shelf behind. Inside the vending machine are 2 Nuka-Cola and 1 Nuka-Cola Quantum. The snakes had set out a billiard table where they were shooting some pool. Talk about party 24/7. We can turn off a radio on a nearby dresser and loot 5 bottle caps. And after looting more feral ghouls, we can walk up some stairs to a platform upon which rests the ghoulified body of Wally Mack. And on his body is a unique weapon called Ultimatum. Does 50 points additional radiation damage. This must be the gun that Wally Mack took from the gunner, which we read about on that terminal. And talk about a unique weapon. It looks like Bethesda took a page from Obsidian and made these weapons truly unique. This unique classic 10mm pistol is engraved from end to end. We see all sorts of designs on here. Dice, poker chips, creepy arms reaching up from hell, mirelurk claws, even a vault boy. On the right side of the weapon we find an engraving. A bullet is worth 1,000 threats, and I have 12. Well, I guess that means this revolver can hold 12 shots. I couldn't find any notable reference to this quote, or any like it. Perhaps this is an old saying that has been passed around by word of mouth. And check out the barrel. We even find the text, "Look here," engraved on the front. Check out the effort that went into this thing. This isn't one texture mirrored on both sides. Each side is unique. The left side of the weapon has a completely different quote. "Be not afraid of any beast, no matter what the size. When danger threatens, wield me, and I shall see to its demise." I love it. This is like something Joshua Graham would wield in battle. This is a reference to an old rumor that a phrase similar to this was printed on the sides of Colt revolvers used in the Old West, which would make sense as the brand who manufactured this classic 10mm is Colt. The original phrase reads, "Be not afraid of any man, no matter what his size. When danger threatens, call on me and I will equalize." We don't find any evidence of such a revolver used in the Old West, but it was first referenced in literature in a story called The Backslider, written by Lucian Carey, published in 1931. It has since been rephrased and paraphrased throughout literature and in casual conversations. We see a death claw hand engraved on the top of the barrel and the same manufacturer stamp we read earlier. This beautiful little pistol has almost all of the same mods as the classic 10mm pistol we explored earlier, except for when it comes to the barrel. It has only one barrel option, the long barrel. I'm guessing this may be because making the weapon shorter would have broken the design. At any rate, I prefer a longer barreled weapon anyway, and it has all of the same other mods as the regular classic 10mm weapon. And check out what a suppressor looks like on this thing. That suppressor is gorgeous. On the back of the weapon, we see a radioactive symbol. Perhaps that signifies the radiation damage that this thing does. And we even see some gunner skulls engraved on the back, which of course makes sense given the lore of this weapon. Wally Mack found it on a gunner that he kidnapped, so of course there would be a gunner logo on the back. Beneath the hammer, we see the sun shining light on the earth to the left and clouds dropping rain to the right. I absolutely love weapons with stories. It makes using them so much more fun. On Wally Mack's platform, we find 2 ammo boxes to the south, one of which has 4 fusion cores inside, some whiskey, a stimpak, and some psycho on an end table, 2 baseball grenades by a chair, a teddy bear drinking beer and smoking cigars behind a bed, and we can use the key we found on his body to unlock Wally's footlocker by the bed. Inside, we can find nearly 200 bottle caps, some plasma cartridges, and another Tunnel Snake's outfit. When done, we'll walk away with 7 Tunnel Snake outfits. We could give them to companions, or maybe give them to some of our settlers. Maybe create our own Tunnel Snake's gang in Vault 88, or give these to Vault 88 guards to keep the place safe. Turning around and heading west, we can loot a cooler on the ground with some psycho inside. And turning south, we see it, all of those irradiated barrels. As we approach, we start getting rads out the wazoo. The barrels are spilling out of this shipping container and climbing up in. At one point, we get up to 12 rads per second. At the top of the container, we see fusion cores spilling out of a box on a shelf. 5 fusion cores to be exact. Goodness, I'll have to bring both of my power armor characters here. And on a crate, we find a holotape. Shipping manifest number TKB 0681. United States Army shipping manifest. Item 1. Radioactive waste, drums, 37 count. Purpose, disposal. Item 2. Partially spent fusion cores, 5 count. Purpose, for recharge if module in acceptable condition. Otherwise, disposal. Notes. Cargo to be shipped via commuter transit tunnels in unmarked containers in order to avoid interception. The Metropolitan Transportation Authority has been made aware of possible military use of railways. Holy cow! So the military was using public transport to move hazardous waste without the knowledge of the Metropolitan Transportation Authority. And it's something they were in the habit of doing. This wasn't the first time. We only find evidence of it, of course, because the bombs happened to drop this day, stopping all trains. The military didn't even care that this toxic waste could irradiate hundreds, maybe even thousands of people just trying to get to work or going out for a lovely day on a Saturday morning. Heading to the southern end of this track, we passed more irradiated barrels, pushing us up to 14 rads per second at some point to find a box filled with 5 Nuka-Cola Quantum, 2 stim packs, a bunch of glowing fungus, and 4 plasma cartridges, though one appears to be glitched. No matter how hard I tried, I couldn't loot this plasma cartridge. Also, I'd be hesitant to drink Nuka-Cola from bottles that have spent the last 200 years next to such highly irradiated barrels. Here we also find an ammo box and a plasma scatter gun. This is a powerful but not unique weapon. It's simply a plasma rifle with a splitter instead of a short barrel. And lying face down on the ground is another dead tunnel snake. Another woman turned ghoul, so Wally Mack's tunnel snakes were not afraid to recruit women, unlike Butch's. On her body is another tunnel snake's outfit. Heading up some stairs to the west, we find... oh! But this cymbal-clacking monkey does not appear to be a trigger for any trap. So, we can just blast his head off. The lighting in this room casts eerie shadows against the walls. I love the shadows that these mannequins cast. We find more tunnel snake graffiti on the walls here, but this way leads to a dead end, so we'll turn north and round a corner to reach a utility room. Here we find a big caged-off area that we can access by hacking a novice lock terminal. After unlocking and opening the door, we find a bunch of scrap in here. Good note for settlement builders, concrete and fuel. On a shelf we find 3 packets of Radaway. On a cart next to this is 2 boxes of shotgun shells and a combat shotgun. There's a first aid kit on the wall above this, and an ammo box on the ground next to it, with 4 missiles inside. Once we're done looting, we can go out a red door to the west, down a hallway where we can unchain some doors. This leads to those double doors we found on the first platform we saw upon arrival. So we've done a big loop. We can now use the ramp to cross the tracks and leave the subway tunnel. And thus ends Wally Mack and the Tunnel Snakes. Or does it? After all, we learned from the events of Fallout 3 that, sadly, Paul Hannon, the 3rd member of the Tunnel Snakes, died from the wounds he sustained while the Lone Wanderer first escaped from Vault 101. But we don't know what happened to Butch. We do know that later in life he became a talented barber and potentially a companion for the Lone Wanderer. But after the events of Fallout 3, whatever happened to Butch Deloria? Perhaps he is off somewhere else. Maybe he made his way to the West Coast and founded a new chapter of the Tunnel Snakes. But if he did, we don't know about it, leaving that story wide open for the telling. What are your thoughts on this Tunnel Snake adventure from the Creation Club? I have to tell you, I am thrilled by it. Absolutely thrilled. It has everything I could want from a downloadable creation like this. This is what I think about when I think of the word mini DLC. Bethesda got a lot of criticism when they described the Creation Club as having mini DLCs instead of mods, and for good reason, because everything we've seen up until this point has just been basically mods. But this adventure feels to me like a mini DLC. It has a fun dungeon, it's got great loot, it was challenging, and more importantly, it ties in with existing Fallout lore. It connects some of the characters and events from Fallout 3 with Fallout 4 and just fills us in on more of the story of what went on during those 10 years between games. I want to see more stuff like this with the Creation Club. Weapon skins, power armor skins, sure, fine, great, that's dandy, but it's adventures like this, I think, that will continue to keep people interested in Fallout 4 and keep the community a thriving one for years to come. So 2 big thumbs up to Bethesda on this one. But am I alone? What are your thoughts on Tunnel Snake's rule? Are you glad to have known what happened to Wally Mack, or does it make you sad in some way? And do you think it's canon? That's the big question. We've already seen so many creations from the Creation Club that could not possibly be canon, like the Doom armor and the Prey suit. But this adventure, I think, could be considered to be canon. We don't really know, that's up to Bethesda. They'll decide whether or not something is canon, but nothing in this little adventure that I know of has conflicted with any existing lore, and it doesn't devalue the world. So in my mind, this adventure is canon. Thanks for watching, everybody. Bethesda's recent Creation Club update was a big one. We not only got this adventure, but a bunch of other really cool stuff, including some new Slocum's Joe stuff that goes far beyond than just settlement building tools. Many of you have asked me to cover this update, and I'll be sure to do so in tomorrow's video. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss that video, be sure to subscribe. I publish a new Fallout video 6 days a week on a wide range of topics spanning all of the games. So if you want to make sure that you don't miss out on my next video, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. You can follow me on Facebook and Twitter to keep up to date with all Oxhorn news. I have a new shirt in the shop, folks. Lawbringer. Here we find a big pile of ash from some poor vaporized person and an index finger inexplicably resting on top. I made a companion shirt to this one called Tap That Ash, which I know is ridiculous, and I'm sorry, but I couldn't help it. Or if you don't like the text on either of them, I have a version with just the image. You can find a lot more shirts in my shop, so if you're interested, you can head on over to my shop by clicking the link in the description or by clicking here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in a more personal way, consider becoming one of my patrons on Patreon. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you tomorrow morning, bright and early, with a brand new video.